Hey, good afternoon to you. It is 4:06 now, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we're making sense of the news. Coming up on the program, John Lott will join us at 5 o'clock. We'll talk crime data with him. That's his expertise. In particular, as the left tells a bunch of lies about the direction the trends are headed. There's some manipulation of the data going on, just to spoil it for you a little bit. And then Kyle Seraphin will be here. We'll talk about Attorney General Merrick Garland being held in contempt of Congress this week. That's at 5:30. You can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. In the United States, there's a poison pill, a literal poison pill that's distributed to kill off unborn babies named mifepristone. They call it the abortion pill. Some people do. And it was the centerpiece of a challenge that rose today, ultimately to a decision by the United States Supreme Court. It was mounted by a number of OBGYNs and emergency room doctors who said that the government's ever-relaxing standards for this poison pill being distributed has led to a number of threats to the women who actually ingest those pills. The FDA's relaxed safety standards have led some of these doctors, including in violation of their conscience, to complete a, quote, unfinished chemical abortion in the event of complications from the pill. All sorts of awful things going on here. But the United States Supreme Court today unanimously said that these doctors, well, they don't have standing. All of the justices said that. For more on this, I want to bring in Shawn Carney. He's the president and CEO of 40 Days for Life and joins us on the phone. Shawn, good to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Good to be on. Thanks for having me.
I just want to get your reaction, first and foremost, to the Supreme Court's decision today. All 9 justices saying these doctors don't have standing to bring this challenge. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's obviously disappointing. I think it was a legal technicality. There was something in there that obviously just didn't work, and they tossed it out. But we weren't even talking about this 5 years ago. I mean, the idea that we would not have a doctor involved, we would just mail abortion pills to somebody, but Planned Parenthood wasn't advocating that. Pro-abortion politicians weren't advocating that. The massive and dangerous deregulation of these pills is political. It's a direct response to the overturning of Roe versus Wade. And that's why these doctors in Texas, these OBGYNs, I guess we used to listen to doctors when they said women are going to be in danger, but 25% of the women that take these pills go to the ER. So there is standing in that regard, but it's very disappointing, and I think it's a little surprising because this is obviously the court that overturned Roe, but I think it was bad in the legal sense.
Well, there's all sorts of categories for instance, painkillers where you have to go see a doctor in order to get a prescription before you can even get access to it, and so here you have a pill that actually kills a human being, and you're saying there's no in-person doctor requirement whatsoever for it.
Right, and that has proven complications. I mean, this isn't like, hey, it's rare, take it, nothing ever happens. I mean, the ER visits are through the roof. And
it's 25%? Is that what you said, 1 in 4?
Yeah, 25% of the largest study over a decade. And so that's a problem. And that's why these doctors, somebody shows up, and I know OBGYNs, this happens a lot. They take the first pill, they have complications, they go to the ER. And the guy who doesn't, or a woman who doesn't believe in abortion, who's the physician, has to deal with it and either violate their conscience or just deal with it in general. This is actually one of the reasons that abortion pill reversal has taken off with a lot of these physicians. Being able to reverse it once the first pill is taken, because that's the other thing. Women will regret it, or they'll regret it because of the complications. But it's a very odd thing that no one was advocating for 5 years ago, and now we're just supposed to think this is reasonable, that you can have no doctor involved and just take these pills, and any objection from the medical community is heresy.
How commonly are babies killed with this pill now, as it relates, as opposed to other forms of abortion?
They're now 56% of all abortions. It's a great question. So that is up from 20-25% 8 or 9 years ago. But certainly that has been the number on the rise to replace surgical abortions. Also, there's a huge abortion doctor shortage in the United States of America. The average age of an abortionist is like 72, because who in the world wants to do this? And also the younger doctors don't want to do it, even if they support it. A lot of them like have a picture of their own ultrasound, and so they're not really wanting to go in and do abortion. So that's a problem. That's another reason Planned Parenthood really pushes.
Do abortionists, do they often come straight from OBGYNs as they become abortionists?
Oh, no. Internal medicine, they come from everywhere. And we have a former abortionist on our staff, and he said, I could teach you, the history major, he said, I could teach you to do an abortion in 30 minutes. And, it's one of those things where something went wrong, usually malpractice or a divorce or some kind of financial issue, and it's great cash. And so a lot of them travel, and they don't live in the town where they do abortions. Circuit riders, that's very, very common. That's most of the abortionists in our country. Very few let people know that they do this.
They don't tell others that they're doing it. They hide their profession from.
Oh yeah,
people.
It's not the talking point at the cocktail party with the other doctors.
It kind of really indicates that some acknowledgement of what's really going on, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, imagine if you're an oncologist, or you're an ER doctor, or you're an orthopedic surgeon, you say that with ease, probably proudly, hopefully, and this is the only surgery where you're not supposed to talk about the details of it.
I've never met a proctologist who's reticent to tell you that that's the stuff they deal with. I'm a proctologist. Everyone's like, okay, yeah, that's a real job.
And a further note, the medical schools are not full of people that say, I want to be the best abortionist in the history of America. But they are full of people who want to be the best cardiovascular surgeons and oncologists and other legitimate forms of healthcare.
Yeah.
So, the stigma is not created by the mean religious pro-life people. The stigma is created by the surgery itself. And that is played out in how the doctors live their life and operate.
Well, yeah. I mean, being responsible for death tends to change a person, I would say. I didn't realize though that it was a shortage. That's a pretty encouraging detail, because that suggests that awareness is absolutely growing about the atrocity that's being committed here.
Oh, 100%. And Generation Z, who we rip on them a lot for a lot of reasons, but Generation Z is the most pro-life generation at their age than any previous generation ever. And the seniors this year, I know Jordan Peterson has been talking about this, the senior class of this year, 2024, is the most conservative senior class in the history of them keeping track with that, because they were freshmen during COVID. So they have this like anti-government kind of mistrust of government, which the hippies had because of Vietnam, and now it's sort of flipped. They have it because of COVID. So it's interesting to see that. And all these kids now, they have a picture of their ultrasound, and they're much more pro-life than previous generations for being 18 years old.
That's a positive trend. So this Supreme Court decision today, as you point out, for legal reasons, doesn't continue. All 9 justices agreeing. By the way, that's not going to back off the left's appetite to destroy the conservative justices. But today, all nine justices agreeing that the doctors here don't have standing. I noticed Brett Kavanaugh, in his opinion today, pointed out that the standing doesn't work, but if you object to this abortion pill, you should take your concerns to your executive and legislative branches and seek what he calls greater regulatory or legislative restrictions on certain activities. In other words, Justice Kavanaugh is kind of offering a roadmap here for people who are concerned about all of this baby death being delivered by mail.
Which is great, and which Texas has done, and Missouri's done, and Alabama's done, and Tennessee has done, where you can't mail them in, you can't mail them out. And I know in Texas, civilly, we can sue the abortion doctor if he does it. So individual citizens, that's how we essentially ended abortion in Texas, was it became a civil issue if you found out somebody was doing abortion. So there's a lot you can do at the state level. And since Roe fell, 23 states have either banned or highly regulated abortion, and 7 states have passed pro-abortion laws. And so the feel in the media is that every state is dying to do abortions and the Supreme Court is evil. That's not the case at all. There were 23 states that had trigger laws that immediately became either abortion-free or almost abortion-free.
Mm-hmm. So Shawn Carney, today, I just talked to Congressman Pat Fallon a few minutes ago about this very subject. Today, President Trump was visiting with members of Congress, and he indicated that he's glad with the Dobbs decision. He's happy about it. He said this a bunch of times, and that now this is an issue that is left to the states. Do you think that's the right battlefield for all of this?
I do right now. I think him flirting with doing a 15-week federal ban was so stupid. That is such a huge compromise after a historic event like the overturning of Roe. And like I mentioned, it's an insult to these 23 states, and it's like it would make us more pro-abortion than all of Europe. So I'm glad he got away from that. I think it's very smart. I think, he takes credit for everything in the world, and he wasn't taking enough credit for the overturning of Roe, and he's doing that. He is by far the most pro-life president ever. It's not even close, just on his record. And so I'm pro-life, and I don't trust Donald Trump. I trusted him from day one. I thought he would deliver on his promises. He did. And people saying that he's not going to be a pro-life president now is absurd. And nobody can predict what he's going to do tonight, much less in November after the election.
So your objection to the 15-week abortion ban proposal that Lindsey Graham was originally advancing, and that President Trump, kind of toyed with a little, you thought it's too permissive. It's too radical, rather than wanting it as an incremental measure.
Absolutely, it was so stupid. That's something that the pro-abortion side should do after Roe. They should come and say, oh, my gosh, why don't we just do 15 weeks, because late-term abortions aren't that many. That needs to be their compromise, not ours. And so I thought it was a horrible thing. I thought it was horrible politically, too, because if the left wants abortions at 40 weeks and infanticide. They don't want to give medical care to a baby girl who survives an abortion.
Right.
So they're not going to be happy with a 39-week ban. But if Trump did a 39-week ban, it's still – Donald Trump overturned Roe. Now he has a federal abortion ban, and it would hurt him politically. And so I didn't like it, and I was glad that he stood up and got away from that. That's fantastic.
All right. Well, Shawn Carney, thank you for all of this. I really appreciate your analysis today. Shawn's the president and CEO of 40 Days for Life. Sir, good to have you with us on the program. It might not seem like it now, but it wasn't that long ago. Donald Trump and Senator Marco Rubio did not like one another. Remember little Marco? I had President Trump come up to me once before he was president. 2016, we were in a restaurant. He was walking by our table. He saw us. He said, come over and said hello. Right after the debate with Marco Rubio in New Hampshire, he goes, you see Marco? He was sweating. He was sweating, drenched on stage. This is back in the 2016 election. Rubio talking about Trump's hands.
He's always calling me Little Marco. And I'll admit, the guy, he's taller than me. He's like 6'2", which is why I don't understand why his hands are the size of someone who's 5'2". Have you seen his hands? They're like this. And you know what they say about men with small hands?
Remember, this was the stage in the campaign when all the candidates took turns being insult comics. They were like, I'm going to get him this time. I've got the best insult. They sat around crafting it the night before. So that was Rubio's attempt. Of course, here's how President Trump responded on the debate stage.
He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
One of the many jaw-dropping moments from the 2016 debates. That was President Trump. That leads us to today. The United States Supreme Court today has rejected a California lawyer's free speech claim that he can trademark a double entendre phrase, quote, Trump too small, for use on T-shirts that were criticizing former President Donald Trump. This is the Washington Post reporting. The Biden administration had asked the justices to uphold the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office's decision to deny the trademark application. The attorney's name is Steve Elster. Federal law does not allow trademarks that use a person's name without their consent. Remember, Trump too small. That's what they wanted to put on the T-shirt. They thought that was clever. There's a picture of a little hand with, index finger and thumb ever so close together, indicating tiny. Trump too small, it says on the T-shirt. And the phrasing apparently all emanated from that 2016 exchange with Marco Rubio where Trump insisted his hands are just fine and so is everything else. He guarantees it. So I don't know how this happened, but it ended up before the United States Supreme Court today. They said, the justices said, you can use phrases like this. Go for it. You have a free speech right. You can't trademark it, though. You can't take Trump's name and then take ownership of it and tell everyone else they can't use it. Sorry, that's not a part of the rules. So even the Biden administration thinks it's a little over the top to try and trademark Trump's name. It all came from that joke. I was reading through this and it was all starting to come back to me. I'm like, wait a second. Are you serious? This is the Marco Rubio thing from way back when? Are we ever going to get moments like that again? I don't think so. We had great moments between Trump and Hillary on that debate stage. That was fun. Remember that? Yeah, because you'd be in jail. It's the best. Honestly, the best. Although he didn't actually lock her up, just to remind everyone. He's not ever really been in the business of locking up his political opponents. That's the left's thing. So we'll see if that subject comes up. My guess is it will when these two men, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, square off here soon. We'll see if Biden even makes it. He's barely waddling around Italy as we speak. Hey, coming up, I've got John Lott. He's going to join us here in the next hour. We're going to talk to him about some of the lies the left is telling this week. They claim crime is down dramatically. That may not actually be your, what do they call it? Your lived experience. John Lott will untangle it. That's ahead and so much more. All ahead on the Vince Coglianese Show. Good afternoon to you. 4:35 here at News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up on the program, we're going to be joined by John Lott at 5 o'clock. We'll talk crime statistics with him. He's with the Crime Prevention Research Center, so of course he's got the data. The left is lying this week about that subject. Kyle Seraphin will be with us at 5:30. We talked to him about Merrick Garland being held in contempt of Congress. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. I've got more economic data for you. Things headed in the wrong direction, quite unfortunately. Life is a lot more expensive under Joe Biden. Inflation has now led to a 20.1% non-seasonally adjusted price hike since Biden took office. Over 20% more expensive to live your life as of May of this year. That's up from 19.9% in April and 16.3% the year prior. So these prices keep climbing. They keep telling us the economy is great. Not so. Not so. This is all according to data from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. The new milestone was a part of the most recent Consumer Price Index report, which measured another 3.3% inflation gain year over year in May. Prices, the Daily Caller reporting, have continued to surge under Biden following inflation's peak of 9% year over year in June of 2022. Yeah, that's the number Biden keeps lying about. He keeps claiming when he came into office, it was 9%. Not so. It rose to 9% under Biden, with the annual rate of inflation not falling below 3% since then. The Federal Reserve, in an attempt to bring the inflation rate back down to its target of 2%, well, they keep hiking the federal funds rate to a range of 5.25% and 5.5%, increasing the cost of credit and adding on even more expenses for average Americans. Yeah, so the economic data, not good. We got more today as well. Unemployment claims have spiked to a 10-month high. Fox headline, the number of Americans who are now filing for jobless benefits unexpectedly spikes to a 10-month high. The latest sign that the labor market is starting to cool in the face of high interest rates. Figures released today by the Labor Department show initial claims for the week ending June 8th increased by 13,000 people. That's to 242,000, above the 2019 pre-pandemic average of 218,000 claims. Marks the highest level for jobless claims since August of 2023. One of the things to remember here, as we've discussed with our economist, E.J. Antoni, so many times, is that to the extent that unemployment numbers appear low, it's a bit of a sugar high, artificial. The reason for that is because people are working multiple part-time jobs to make ends meet in this economy. Full-time jobs keep being lost. And to the extent that people have jobs, well, they're almost all going to foreign nationals. Native-born Americans are losing gigs and are likely to be among these many more who are now unemployed. So there's that. Americans, of course, have noticed there is a single-digit enthusiasm for Biden's economy. Breitbart reporting today that a new CBS News poll shows that only 7% of voters say Joe Biden's economy is very good. Only 7% say it is very good, and all of them work for Joe Biden or are Joe Biden's donors. Just 7% of voters. Very good. 34% of voters say it is very bad, according to the same poll. The poll suggests warning signs for Biden's re-election chances. Breitbart says the economy is the number one issue for voters. And then if we break down the numbers broadly for all the answers, only 32% of voters think the economy is either in very or fairly good shape. 63% say the economy is in very or fairly bad shape. Janet Yellen was on TV today. She went over to one of the business networks, CNBC, and she claims, well, actually, everybody's doing great.
All Americans, both those who are well off and those who are near the bottom of the income distribution, are better off now. Their wages have risen more than prices.
Well, that's also a lie. Wages have not risen more than prices. Prices have risen more than wages, which is why people are poorer now than when Joe Biden came into office. The host, Andrew Ross Sorkin, said, what? People were better under Trump. Explain that.
The public believes that the former President Trump, was better for the economy than the current president.
Well, you know,
what?
I think President Biden understands that people are feeling pain. And when they say this, they are concerned. I think they've seen the level of prices rise quite a lot. I mean, over 20% over the last 3 years or so. They can remember when the price of a gallon of milk or a loaf of bread was 30% lower than it is now. And low-income families have seen some of the highest increase in costs.
They remember the good old days? Is that the explanation? Oh, you're just too nostalgic for when we had 5 and dime stores or something. I don't know. What is she even saying? She doesn't know what she's saying. But other than, like, Americans are just getting it all wrong. You hear her stagger there for a moment, though? Andrew Ross Sorkin didn't even ask a question. He said, Americans say they were better under Trump than Biden. And she's like, look. That's the Treasury Secretary. Andrew Ross Sorkin also says, your boss, that is Biden, he keeps saying that the reason all these prices are up is corporate greed. How come you don't say that?
Your boss calls it corporate greed. You don't.
Well, you know, there's a lack of competition that enables firms to have healthy markups and profits.
Okay, so that's what she's trying to say is I agree with it, but I don't want to use that phrase. I don't even understand what she's presenting there. The answer, of course, is not actually corporate greed. That's Biden attempting to pass the buck for his own policies. It's government spending. It's a guy coming into office and then immediately cutting $2 trillion in new government spending, and he's added a whole bunch more since then. And if you print all that money, what happens to the cost of goods? Well, it all skyrockets because they've printed so much money and injected it into the economy that the cost of goods has risen a lot. That's literally what inflation is. So there's Janet Yellen trying to run cover for Joe Biden's claims that it's corporate greed. It's not. In fact, the price increases that these corporations have had to endure are equivalent to the prices that we're paying. So their costs are up about 20%, and the cost of all the goods we pay for is up about 20% broadly across the economy. In other words, they're not stealing from us. They're not marking it up to absurd levels. They're just passing on the expenses that they have to absorb. That's how the economy works. In order for these businesses to stay open, that's how it works. And they keep saying corporate greed. They're really hoping for a scapegoat here, and they don't have one, at least in the eyes of the voters. And so here you have Biden not doing well, the economy, one of the clearest indications why. And you've got lefties who are freaking out about all of this. Most of them are doing it quietly. Most of them do it behind closed doors. But luckily, James Carville exists. And I love all the audio we've been getting from Carville. I hope he keeps this up all the way to Election Day, carping in public about how crappy the Democrat coalition is. Here he is on the Donnie Deutsch podcast this week saying, we've got some problems, us Democrats.
We have a huge male problem all across the board, but particularly, I hate this term, but I'll use it, communities of color, like as if all people that are not white are the same. It's stupid.
Listen, by the way, he's right. It's a stupid phrase. It's a stupid phrase. Communities of color. What did he say there? Just people who are not white? Is that he's telling the truth right there?
I'll use it, communities of color, like as if all people that are not white are the same. It's stupid. And I do think, and people got a little upset with me when I told Maureen, New York Times, but I think Democratic culture has too many preachy females. It's too much. Don't eat hamburgers. Don't watch football. All right, wear condom. Like, man, leave me alone. You okay? I got a damn life to lead. Guy works at a tire repair shop in suburban Atlanta. Was working 50 hours a week. Making $16.50 an hour, and he wants to watch the football game. He wants to smoke dope and drink beer, and then everybody's telling him he's slothful, and they reject that. And I just think some of it is cosmopolitan condensation, if you will. Like you need to lead the kind of life.
Did he say condensation? I think he means condescension. Cosmopolitan sweating going on here.
I just think some of it is cosmopolitan condensation, if you will. Like you need to lead the kind of life we lead, not the kind of life you lead. It pisses people off.
Well, that's across the board. That's black, white. That's a big part of Trump. That's a big part of Trump.
It's Hispanic. We're going to lose Hispanic males.
Yeah.
We're going to lose them.
And that's on that male-female issue. That's on that. I mean, it very much they want to see the strong. This is a generalization, but strong, dominant male in a household. I mean,
I love. How is it that they're coming this late to this realization? Carville. I just love he's sitting there and going, maybe we shouldn't appreciate everybody so much. Maybe we should stop telling everybody how to live all the time. Maybe we back off on some of that. It'd be better. Yeah, no kidding. Too many preachy females, he says. Yeah, it's not just preachy females. It's preachy all of you. All of the preaching. Stop telling everybody else how to live. Stop trying to micromanage everybody's life. Governing all of us. With your demented moral code. The one that says that men can be women, women can be men. Knock it off. It's funny, though. But a lot of what he said there, totally right. Totally right. People don't. I'll tap the brakes on the amount of people who are sitting around smoking dope. That's what he suggested. They just want to come home, drink some beer, and smoke some dope. I don't know about that. But he is right that, broadly, I think among people who are not quite as politically focused as perhaps you and I, they don't like all this being preached to all the time about how they have to change pronouns now and how they have to include them on their emails and how they have to go to DEI training and they have to judge their neighbors and their coworkers on the basis of their race. And they're sitting around going, what the hell is even happening here? Why is this all polluting my life? Being forced to take COVID jabs and all this garbage. No, people are, at least some people are standing up to it. Hispanic males, they're pointing out there. They're going to break for... He's right about that, too. Specifically Hispanic men, to the extent that you can consider that a unified category, because in all of these categories, there's diverse thought and political voting patterns. But Hispanic men broadly, as we understand that category, they're going to go for Trump this year. And Carville's upset about him. Let me take Sam in Alexandria, line 4. Sam, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Callahan Show.
Hey, brother, it's so good to hear your voice, and we're so happy that you're back in the game.
Me too. Thank you very much, Sam. It's great to be back.
Yeah, and it's good to hear you back. Hey, listen, what I was thinking is I'm listening to Carville, and quite honestly, there's a part of me I just can't stand that guy. But dang, if we don't need a Republican Carville that can just speak, I'll even take the accent, speak that kind of truth straight up that everybody from that mechanic that wants just to have his six-pack and relax at the end of a hard day, all the way up to that, that person at the CEO level. And everybody can relate to what Carville says. And I think that's what we need, aside from you, because you just don't have that twang in your voice.
Yeah, that's true. I don't have the Carville twang. But, the Raging Cajun. I do like it because for the same reason you do, which is that it just seems plain-spoken. And the reason he's at this point, he's just exhausted by it. He's just out of patience for his own party. And he's just screaming. Now he's just like trying to just screaming truths about the only way, because fundamentally, Sam, as you know, he wants power. All he wants for his party is power, and he's realizing we're losing our chance at holding it because we've become so completely deranged.
Yeah, and I think he looks back to the days of Clinton, and let's hand it to him. He probably brought the presidency to Clinton, and it was through that. I mean, I hate to say it, brother, I voted for Clinton. That was before I was converted by the contract with America. And, he made Clinton come across as that common, everyday guy that got on the Tonight Show and played the saxophone with his sunglasses on. And I looked at that and I'm like, oh, my gosh. And so I think Trump is the modern version of that, except for I think he's getting better than he campaigned in the first time, because now I think he gets that. And he's relating so much more, like we talked about, the bodega, the rally in the Bronx, with the construction workers. I think they're getting that, and they're saying, you know what?
So
this is the strength.
And this really taps into something important, which is, and I think Carville is tapping into it here. Trump doesn't judge you. Trump makes no judgments about you at all. And I'm talking about American voters. He's not judging American voters at all. He appreciates the ones who support him. That's really what it comes down to. He talks about how much he loves the country. He says he's going to fight for all sorts of people, to include constituencies who don't vote for him. Whereas Biden, he'll get up on stages, these lefties broadly, it's not just Biden, and they will issue condemnations of Americans. You had Adam Schiff. You had Adam Schiff this very day. Do I have that audio of Adam Schiff? Adam Schiff. Oh, yeah. Adam Schiff today in Congress declared that used to be that Republicans talked about a moral majority. If Americans vote for Trump, they are a part of an immoral majority. Here's Adam Schiff doing exactly what James Carville says is going to destroy their party.
The party formerly of the moral majority is now, I suppose, hoping to fashion some kind of immoral majority to reinstate Donald Trump as president.
This preachy, judgmental horse crap coming out of the mouth of one of the leading figures in their party, Adam Schiff, old pencil neck, and that's what people don't like.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I think it was yesterday's show, right toward the end of your time, is that you were talking about there was something, I can't remember, that was about how it was something about morals or justice or something like that, and I'm like, oh, so if you're for this, then they are more for injustice or immorality. And I can't remember what the session was, but it was like, oh my gosh. So if you're not for this, then you're for the opposite, which is injustice, immorality, and that would have been square in their camp.
Right. Yeah, I remember yesterday. One of the things we talked about yesterday, I think, was all these illegals who are in the country, and they've declared outright that it would be vile to enforce the law, deport them, which means, of course, that they're for the opposite. They're for amnesty and for welcoming a foreign national invasion into the United States for people to take what is not rightfully theirs. In fact, this country belongs to the citizens of the United States. All right. Hey,
and if we relate, yep, you got it, brother. Hey, again, welcome back. It's so good to hear you, and you have a great day.
Thanks, Sam. You too. You too. Local news for you as it relates to President Trump. Last night, he was at his golf club in Virginia alongside Governor Glenn Youngkin. The two apparently had a good meeting. They released a photo posing together. Youngkin supportive of Trump's campaign. So will we see Youngkin with Trump on the campaign trail in Virginia? Possibly. Trump just told Fox's Aisha Hasni that he actually has considered maybe he would pick Youngkin for VP. That could be interesting. Maybe a play to get those 13 electoral college votes out of Virginia. Also, Trump today announcing he's endorsing Larry Hogan for Senate in Maryland. If Hogan wins that, you can be sure that Trump's going to hold it over his head. Hey, you're only in that seat because of me. It's 4:58.